From the shining domicile that is Pittsburgh Comics, my old-mannered comic shop owner, Colin McMahon, transforms into the world's greatest comic book talking TV host. Join us true believers for Comics Now!
Hey everybody, welcome to Comics Now for August 2019. It's been a great summer, lots of neat things have been going on, and lots more is still to come. The publishers love summer, they love their big summer events, big summer reveals. We just had San Diego Comic-Con where they announced all sorts of new stuff, new movies, new books, all sorts of neat things. So we're still moving forward, and August is no slouch. Here at the store, for book club, we're going to take a little different tack. Normally we do like a big book, something that I'm familiar with. This one, we picked something that nobody's read yet. It's Athena Voltaire, which is a neat kind of pulpy type story where it's set in the 30s. She's taking on Nazis and zombies and other arcane creatures. It's a real nice, big, thick hardcover. So we're giving this one a shot. So that's going to be the book club book. And then there's lots of good stuff going on. I'm going to have lots of sales still going on here at the store. And let's get into all the cool stuff that the comic publishers have coming our way. We're going to start with Marvel because they really have the biggest one of the summer. They are doing Absolute Carnage. Big, huge event going on where Carnage is back. And he's now targeting anyone who has ever had the Venom symbiote, whether it's just for a little bit or, Eddie Brock, whose Venom is his main target, but there's been a lot of other people to have it along the way. So he is targeting them. And this is going to be, it was a 4-issue, now it's a 5-issue series going into November. And they're also bringing in a bunch of mini-series and a bunch of one-shots. And what we have coming up in August is Venom 17 is tying into it. That's kind of a given. But then we also have some mini-series. We have Absolute Carnage versus Deadpool. Absolute Carnage Lethal Protectors, which is people fighting him, and it's a team of Morbius, Iron Fist, and Cloak and Dagger are trying to help stop Carnage. Absolute Carnage Miles Morales is bringing in Miles Morales into the story. Scream, who was an old, one of the symbiote people back during Maximum Carnage. And also Separation Anxiety, which was a storyline back in Venom long ago. So lots of Carnage stuff going on in August. House of X and Powers of 10 are just getting started now, and they're going to be continuing through the month. It's every week we're getting one of the two books, and this is an event by Jonathan Hickman, which is set to redefine the entire X franchise and all of the characters and their place in the Marvel Universe. So this is going to be a big one. Come check that one out. Marvel Comics 1000. Now this is a really, really big book that they're doing. Not just size-wise, I think it's an 80-pager, but it's a celebration of 80 years of Marvel. And what they've done is they are doing a page for every year. And there's a framing sequence, which is reintroducing an old character and an old concept. But along the way, as a year lands on something special, like the creation of Captain America or the first appearance of the Fantastic Four, they brought in all-star artists and creators to do a one-page kind of celebration of that character. So it's been really, really neat. I got to read a preview copy of it. It's a really neat book. So come on down, take a look at it. That comes out the end of August, but it's going to be a real big celebration of everything Marvel. Then they're doing a bunch of little one-shots and continuing on some miniseries. First one is Fantastic Four Yancey Street, which is by Jerry Duggan, and it's kind of the beginning of a little celebration of the Fantastic Four. It's a first in a series of regular essential releases expanding on the ongoing legend of the Fantastic Four and their world. So that's kind of neat. They're continuing the Prodigal Son storyline that started in Fantastic Four Prodigal Son, and now it's going into Silver Surfer, and it's going to be looking at Silver Surfer and Galactus in the past when they were dealing with this new character, Prodigal. Ghost Spider. They're bringing Gwen Stacy, Ghost Spider, into the regular Marvel Universe. So they're changing, they ended the previous series and now they're starting this new one where she's not in her world, she's now in the regular Marvel world. Gwenpool Strikes Back. This is a 5-issue miniseries. Gwenpool, who's a fan favorite character, is back with her own little miniseries to make sure that she isn't forgotten and gets lost in the world of comics. Marvel Monsters, this is by Cullen Bunn, who did the Marvel Monsters Unleashed series, and basically someone is doing horrible things to the Marvel Monsters and only Kid Kaiju can save them. So that's coming. Agents of Atlas is a team that was formed during War of the Realms, and that's continuing on, getting its own series with a bunch of Asian heroes kind of teaming together under the auspices of John Woo, who was in the original Agents of Atlas. So people have been enjoying that, so they're getting more. Major X Zero. This is reprinting 2 classic Wolverine stories and giving it a framework of Major X, so it's going to have a little bit of extra there. Future Foundation 1. Now, Future Foundation was the kids of the Fantastic Four, Franklin and Valeria Richards, and then some other really smart kids and different things that they put together as kind of a little junior think tank. Well, they're back now. Instead, they're being led by Alex and Julie Power from Power Pack, and they've added Yondu as a guest kind of professor to help them along. Power Pack number 1 is also getting a one-shot, Power Pack Grow Up, where it's going to be a newer story about the Power Pack kids, a big favorite from the 80s. Captain America 13 is starting a new storyline called The Legend of Steve. Steve Rogers is still on the run. He's being hunted by the government, and this is continuing his story of trying to figure things out. Spider-Man Velocity is a new miniseries based on the Spider-Verse, or the Spider-Man video game, and the storyline that runs through that game. This is expanding on that. Sensational Spider-Man Self-Improvement. This is an interesting story. Years ago, someone, just a regular person, had sent in a story idea for why Peter Parker put on the black costume between the time it was introduced in Spider-Man 252 and Marvel's Secret Wars number 8, when it was explained where this black costume came from. So he sent in this story idea, and Marvel kind of never did anything with it. Until now, they gave it to Peter David, who's a real prolific Spider-Man writer, and he's kind of tweaked the story and now made it ready for print. So it's kind of a new old story. They're still continuing Acts of Evil, which is where the heroes are facing different villains. The villains are switching things up like they did long ago in Acts of Vengeance. And the 2 books we're getting this month are Deadpool Annual, where he's taking on Nightmare, and She-Hulk Annual, where she's taking on Bullseye. Fantastic Four 13 is going to be a classic because it's Thing versus Immortal Hulk. Everybody loves these big Thing and Hulk mashups, so we're getting one finally here with the new version of Hulk. They're doing a facsimile edition of X Factor 87. This is where all the X Factor members go to see a therapist and talk about their problems. And Marvel Tales is giving us an X-Men issue. Those are the big $8 reprint books with like the greatest hits type of stories, and we're getting X-Men this month. Conan is giving us a kind of a neat story. It's Exodus, and it's the story of the first time that he left Samaria, which was his home. And it's an all-visual issue written and drawn by Asad Ribic, who is just really fancy painter-style story. So this is a one-shot and should be really, really pretty. Age of Conan is continuing. Before we had Belit, now we're having Valeria, which is another companion of Conan. And it's a mini-series starring her and telling some of her early stories. Star Wars Age of Resistance continues on, and we have 2 more this month. We have General Hux, who's the big bad guy, leading the Empire, and Poe Dameron. So those are coming out. So now, switching to DC. DC is continuing on with their Year of the Villain, and it's not really a story in itself, other than the main story is going through Justice League. So if you're interested in the Year of the Villain story, read Justice League, because that's where the big stuff is happening. But what's happened in this first month was The Gift, where Lex Luthor visited a bunch of characters, offering them gifts that will help turn the tide, help let them be more powerful or richer or more effective against the heroes. And that's continuing on in August. This one is still doing Dark Gifts. The other thing that they're doing this month is they're doing battle damaged covers. And what that means, the logos on the covers are going to be all smashed up. So just a fun way, just a neat kind of unifying theme to the month. So the battle damage covers that are tying in with Year of the Villain are going to be Action 1014, Aquaman 51, Batgirl 38, Batman 76, Batman and the Outsiders 4, Catwoman 14, Deathstroke 46, Detective 1009, Flash 76, Harley Quinn 64, Hawkman 14, Justice League 29, Justice League Dark 14, Justice League Odyssey 12, Nightwing 62, Red Hood and the Outlaws 37, Supergirl 33, Superman 14, Teen Titans 33, The Terrifics 19, and Wonder Woman 76. That's basically just a big excuse to throw a lot of covers at you and let you see a lot of cool stuff. Another book that's spinning out of a prior thing is Batman Superman. This is spinning out of the end of The Batman Who Laughs #7. They added an issue to this because the end of the story was so big, and now due to the events in that issue, we're getting a Batman Superman book where they're having to deal with the effects of what happened in that issue. So that's very exciting. That is actually coming out the last week of July, so I'm very excited to see how that goes and see why this book was so needed. Some other things going on at DC. Neil Adams is back doing his own miniseries, and this one is Batman versus Ra's al Ghul. Gotham City is under siege by terrorists, and Boston Brand, who's the dead man, discovers that Ra's al Ghul is behind all of it. So he enlists Batman to take care of this. In addition to that, DC is getting into the facsimile edition game where they're actually reprinting the book as it was, ads and all. And they're doing Batman 232, which was the original first appearance of Ra's al Ghul, done by Neil Adams. Wildcats. Warren Ellis is back. He just wrapped up Wildstorm, which was hugely successful relaunching of the Wildstorm universe. And he's back now bringing back Wildcats, which Grifter and all of his friends. And basically they're here to save the human race from the human race. It's also with art by Ramon Villalobos, who's been really good. They're also doing some Year of the Villain one-shots now, basically characters that don't necessarily have their own books, but to let their story be told. First one is Black Mask, Year of the Villain by Tom Taylor and Cully Hamner. Lex's gift to the Black Mask is to get out of crime and get into corporate espionage. And so he's taking to that and being very successful. Another one is Sinestro by Mark Russell and Brandon Peterson. And Sinestro basically now has the ultraviolet power, and he's off to take on some gods in the universe and see if he can defeat them. They're also doing a House of Secrets 92 facsimile edition, and this is the first appearance of Swamp Thing. Due to the popularity of the Swamp Thing TV show that hopefully gets picked up somewhere because it's been really good, they're redoing his first appearance, which is cool. Teen Titans Burning Rage. This is by Jan Jurgens, Scott Eaton, and Pittsburgh's own Wayne Fauscher. This is reprinting the stories that were in the Walmart books. Now just on to some regular stories and new storylines. Detective Comics 1009. This is Take Your Shot is the storyline, and Deadshot has returned to Gotham, and Batman is going to have to deal with him. Flash 76. Flash Year 1 ended up, and 76 starts the next storyline, and this is the death of the Speed Force, where Wally notices his powers are diminishing, and it's because the Speed Force itself is dying. Justice League 30 starts Justice Doom War, so we'll see where that's going. I'm sure the effects of Year of the Villain are taking its toll in the DC universe. So that's all for DC. Now going on to Image. The big one from Image is Spawn 300 that is shipping in August. Spawn has finally reached that big landmark issue. Only one other independent book, like non-Marvel DC book, has ever made it to 300, and that was Cerebus. So Spawn has finally reached 300, and they're doing a big celebration. It's going to have a ton of covers. I think it went through J or K as far as designations. And it's going to be a big oversized book, and the neat thing with it is it's being drawn by Greg Capullo and Todd McFarlane. Greg Capullo did a long run on Spawn. That's really where he kind of got his start and his notoriety. So he's come back to do this one special issue, and it has a bunch of covers. The neat thing that Todd McFarlane showed up down at Vegas at the Retailer Summit, and the one thing he said, he had a lot of people wanting to do variant covers for it, people like J. Scott Campbell and so. And he said, that's fine, you can do your own cover for it, but you have to do some interior work as well. So the inside's going to have work by a lot of different artists, which is going to be neat. Big artists that don't normally do insides anymore. Some other ones, Coffin Bound #1. This is a story about a girl. Her life has gone completely off the rails, and she's decided to kind of go back through her life and basically burn her bridges. She's like, if she doesn't want, if she's not going to be around anymore, she's going to kind of blow everything up. This is the next of the Comic Omnivore books. And the idea behind this was started by a store down in Florida who basically decided that there are so many books out there, nobody could read everything. And so what he decided, he went to the publishers and said, hey, we need your help promoting books and making people aware of these books. So they're picking a book or two a month that we, as a group of stores that have joined in this, are going to specifically promote. And we're also doing $1 off for the first week to get early adopters, to get people to try these books. Books that people have read previews of and said, vouch for, say these are really good books, that's why we're picking these. So Coffin Bound is one of the ones for August. So come in, give it a try. It's going to be on sale, discounted that first week. Next one, Pretty Violent. Little Gamma Ray has always been stronger than everybody else, and she's had superpowers, and she wants to be a superhero. Unfortunately, all of her siblings are well-known criminals who thrive in taking down superheroes. So how is she going to reconcile that? White Trees. This is a new little 2-issue miniseries from Chip Zdarsky and Chris Anka. And basically there was a giant war, and these great warriors finally came together and brokered the peace. 23 years later, their children have gone missing, and now they have to try to stop war from coming back as the entire country has rekindled its anger. Okay, Dark Horse. Neat one from Dark Horse. There's Berserker Unbound. This is a new one. It's a Conan-esque story where Conan in New York City, by Jeff Lemire and Mike Deodato. So apparently Mike Deodato really wanted to draw Conan, and the way he was able to do it was to come to Dark Horse to do it. Hellboy and BPRD is continuing on with Saturn Returns miniseries. Tommy Gun Wizards. This is a fun idea where basically Elliot Ness and the Untouchables are still after Al Capone, but in this reality, Al Capone doesn't deal in alcohol, he deals in magic. And so they have to stop him from using magic to take over the country. Strayed. Things have gone bad. The great global conglomerate is trying to take over the universe, and the only thing that can stop it is an astral projection cat and his owner. IDW. IDW's been doing a lot of the Marvel kind of kids books. They're doing an Avengers, a Spider-Man, and a Black Panther book so far. And the next one they're adding to their list is Captain Marvel. So this should be fun. A Captain Marvel book for kids, where the main one isn't necessarily young kid friendly. This will be a nice young kid friendly book. If they've seen the movie, this will give something, especially for the young girls who are always looking for stuff beyond My Little Pony. Starcadia Quest. This is a story of a kid, kind of Space Force, and it's spinning out of a real popular board game. Transformers 84-0. This is an issue taking place before the original Transformers miniseries back in 1984. So this is kind of a prequel to that story. So that's a nice little nostalgia boom there. Mountainhead. This is an interesting one where a father and son are kind of living off the grid. They feel that the government is hunting them, and they're just out in the wilderness. And then the second part of the story is there's one survivor from this mountain climbing expedition, and this guy's coming off the mountain and he's just covered in blood and everything, and he doesn't know what happened, and he runs into these guys. And then, of course, I'm sure the government is actually after all of them. Star Trek Discovery is the TV show, and they've done a couple book adaptations, extensions of storylines and stuff. And this is Star Trek Discovery Aftermath. I guess at the end of season 2 there was a big twist, shock ending. And this is exploring that. Dynamite doesn't have a lot of new coming out, but they have one interesting one. They have Death-Defying Devil, which was a Daredevil character set in the 40s, and it's part of Dynamite kind of using a lot of public domain stuff that they've been doing. He's one of their characters they brought back quite a lot. And so he's back with a miniseries, but the neat thing is it has Gail Simone writing it. So that's a pretty big name to get on a book, so it should be an interesting take that she gives to it. Boom. Boom has one really big book coming out this month. They kind of used it, not as a test for us, but they're getting behind it 100%. It's fully returnable. They were really using it to see how stores ordered, if they were given the opportunity to order, without restrictions and things. And it's a big name book, so this should be interesting. It's called Once and Future. And basically, some evil nationalists have used an ancient device to bring back a villain from the Arthurian times. And now this Bridget McGuire has to escape from her retirement home. She grabs her great-grandson, who is a museum curator, and they have to go and try to fight this. And the neat thing with this is by Kieran Gillen, who's done Wicked and Divine, X-Men, all sorts of stuff, doing a great book right now called Die, about role-playing. And by Dan Mora, who did the Claws books. If you've read any of those by Grant Morrison, just really, really nice art. So he's doing this. The neat thing with it, they were trying to see how the stores would order. There's no variants, there's nothing fancy. They just wanted to see how they could get this going. Well, we had a little side deal. Comic Hub, the program that I use, has a big thing in planned for publishers, where publishers can actually reach out directly to my customers. If they bought a certain book, they can send an email to these people promoting their stuff. So it's a way to get the publishers more involved in promoting their books, which I am 100% for, because that's my biggest, I feel the biggest downfall is they don't push their stuff enough. They rely on us too much. So we're jumped in with this, and because they were really the first publisher to enter into an agreement, we're getting a special variant just for Comic Hub using stores. So I will have a special variant of this book. So I've gone big on it. It should be really, really good. So you'll see lots of copies here, and I'll be pushing it. Buffy the Vampire, since Boom got it, it's been doing really, really well, and there's a new one coming out called The Chosen Ones, and this is about different slayers from all over the globe, from all different time periods. They've done a series of variant covers kind of spotlighting these characters, and this is finally going to be a point where they're putting it into the books. Over the Garden Wall has been a real popular, it's a cartoon, and it's been a popular book, and they have a new miniseries coming from them as well. Action Lab, local company, they have a new one coming, Adventure Finders Edge of Empire, and basically it's just like all ages kind of fun adventure orcs and beasts kind of story. Aftershock has a neat one. This is by Juan Doe, who I don't know that he's written before, but he's been a real prolific artist. Bad Reception, a big celebrity wedding, takes place totally off the grid. There's no Wi-Fi, there's no cell signal, which is great, except one by one the guests are being murdered and branded with a hashtag. So one of those, it almost sounds like an Agatha Christie type story. Alterna has a new one called Red Koi, where it's a samurai goes back to her the house that her father built and discovers that it was built on lies, deceit, and treachery, and finds an ancient enemy. Archie is doing the 10th anniversary of Archie the Married Life, which was kind of their real first time that they kind of stepped out of the standard Archie fare and did something where it was a two-part story, where in one storyline Archie married Betty and the other one Archie married Veronica. And it's been 10 years since that happened, so they're revisiting it with a new series. Black Box has an interesting one, Psycho Test, where an FBI agent has given that up to become a therapist, but he finds he really couldn't let that world go, and as people are confessing their problems and things, he takes it upon himself to help them get through them, whether it's somebody bothering them or something bad has happened. So that's going to be interesting. I think that's by Chuck Dixon, so a real prolific writer. Humanoids has a new one called Omni, where a doctor is suddenly imbued with superpowers and realizes that lots of other people have too, and she's trying to figure out the cause of it and kind of take care of things. Mad Cave has an interesting one, Show's End, that's set in the 1920s. And it's basically about a traveling freak show and a young girl who's kind of escaping from a bad home situation, but they're hesitant to let her in because she's not a freak. So that sounds fun. Scout is giving us a new one called Headless, and a couple teenagers are killed in 1987, but it's not a typical murder. They've been beheaded, and is the Headless Horseman back? Planet Caravan is also a new one. Jason is the last of his army. His permanent mecha suit is his only companion, and all he wants to do is get home to his wife, but things aren't what they seem. Titan is back. Lenore, which has been a real popular book, is back. I know the creator of that was in a car accident and hasn't been able to work for a long time, but Lenore is back. Real popular one. Moody little girl. Valiant is back with Dr. Mirage. Dr. Mirage has the power to see and speak with the dead, but suddenly her powers are gone, and she needs to determine if it's just her powers are gone or if something's interfering, and she needs to stop them to get her powers back. This is neat. This is by Mags Viziago, who's been a real up-and-comer, was just nominated for an Eisner. Real exciting writer who did Eternity Girl last year that I absolutely loved. That's what she was nominated for. And Nick Robles is doing the art. As always, Valiant is really supportive of their work. Lots of stuff going on, and it should be really, really good. Vault has a couple neat ones. They're really coming on. Vault is really gaining some traction. They've added returnability to their number ones, which makes it easier to have a lot of number ones and carry a lot. So it's fun to try them. This one's called The Mall, and basically society has died. Bad things have happened, but everything is still okay inside this mall, except there are now factions. There's the big box group, and there's the brand name gangs, and everybody's fighting over limited resources, all living inside of a mall. And then they also have one called Necromancer's Map, which is spinning out of Songs of the Dead. This is a new storyline from that world. Zenoscope has a couple new ones. Van Helsing versus Dracula's Daughter, pretty self-explanatory. And then The Watcher, where it's a story of a Catholic deacon and his family moving into a house that's haunted, and bad things occur to the family. So that's what we have coming out in August. Lots and lots of good stuff, along with lots of other things continuing. There were a bunch of original graphic novels that I didn't get into, but those are coming, especially from Lionforge has a bunch of neat stuff coming. So that's neat. Check out the new trade wall when you come in. So we're doing Athena Voltaire for book club. That's going to be at the end of the month. Keep an eye on the website and check my emails for what's going on here in the store every week. And if you need to get a hold of me, it's pittsburghcomics.com. Facebook is Pittsburgh Comics. Twitter and Instagram is PGH Comics. And stay tuned for Comic Previews Theater. Thanks.
The X-Men, year 100.
There was a dream. Our dreams are the same. While you slept, the world changed.
Northern Territory, the Nexus.
This one's dying.
Dare I hope for something salvageable from its mind, or should I set my expectations more towards the human end of the spectrum?
Bad news on that front.
Of course.
They're wiping on the termination now. Some kind of mnemonic trigger when they start to flatline.
And the other mutant?
We know her. Silabelle was born in the kennel, bred as a black-brained telepath. A natural Judas, subversion was written into her DNA. Normal field protocol is sure to fail. We'll have to give her a bath.
Oh, let's not give up so easily, shall we? Where's the human ingenuity you've always been going on about? Maybe its current misfortune is making it feel conversational. Does that sound right to you, mutant? Tell us, what did you and your friends find rifling through the Nexus? And where did they run off to?
What? Friends?
I see. So, you'll be needing persuasion then.
Hold on, sister. I worked too hard to find you just to lose you now. No! Don't you dare! Once I had a no name, because I was born without one. How much blood did I have on my hands before you saved me? Before you named me? All of this was for nothing if you don't make it back.
She's right, Rasputin. This is too important. We have to go. Now.
Just because you were bred to be a coward doesn't make me one, Cardinal. If you want to run, then run. I won't be...
I'm planting the black seed of Krakoa. I'll wait for you as long as I can before I close it on the other side. If you do not come, then I will see you both when the world is made again.
Will you pray for me, priest?
Of course. My faith is boundless. I pray for all living things.
And that's your problem, priest. You've forgotten that machines have no soul.